This is Shifting Our Schools episode 108. You can be a paperless classroom or a blended learning classroom, but you can't be both.
Listen up, educators. Are you looking to take your classroom to the next level? The technological shift in education is happening right now. If you're looking to integrate technology into your classroom, you're in the right place. Welcome to Shifting Our Schools with your host, Jeff Udick.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Shifting Our Schools. Thank you for tuning in this week. Over the past few weeks, I've had a couple of conversations with teachers and people in the business world that I just wanted to share with you and let you all tell me what you think on this idea. There was, and still is, a push that when we go one-to-one in the classroom, that this also means moving towards a paperless classroom, where everything is digital, done on a device, and we cut paper out completely. From an environmental standpoint, I totally get it. From a learning standpoint, I'm not so sure it's the right move. When we talk about a blended learning environment, we're talking about using the best the physical world has to offer and the best that the digital world has to offer. It's not about all of one or the other, but the blending of the physical world and this new digital world. Knowing what, when, and how to use all of the tools at your disposal to create and learn from is the best the future has to offer. Here's what I haven't found. I have not found one company that has gone paperless. Maybe there is one out there. I'm willing to say I haven't checked with every company, but I have friends who work in tech and non-tech companies here in Seattle and other cities, and not one of them lives in a paperless work environment. In fact, I've had people high up at both Amazon and Target tell me they print off paper for meetings because people on devices are A, distracting to others in the meeting, and B, distracting to the person. By printing off the report or research they are working on, they do not have backs of screens between each of them. And get this, paper is easier to read. It also reminds me of a story an 8th grade teacher told me a few years ago. She handed out a physical copy of the book the class was going to read, and the students thanked her. It shocked her that students wanted to touch, feel, and read a real book in a school that had gone one-to-one and then proceeded to put everything on the device. One of the things that makes me sad to see is when I walk into a classroom and students are reading a book, a report, or any other printed material that has been turned into a PDF for their screen. PDFs as a file type do not allow you to take advantage of online dictionaries or thesauruses. In most cases, they can't be read out loud to the student if the student so chooses. There is very little, if any, functionality you gain by taking something that was already on paper and turning it into something that can be read on a screen that does not take advantage of the technology we have today to enhance the reading experience. On the other side, everyone I know, have met, or have talked to about this lives in a blended world. I take notes sometimes on my phone, sometimes on my computer, sometimes in my notebook. It depends where I am and what tool I have with me. I have a notebook I use to write down all of the notes for each episode of these podcasts. I have another notebook I carry with me and write down all the notes during meetings with school leaders before I come in for the day of training. I start all my presentations on paper. I have a whole notebook full of my presentations before they ever make it to a slide deck. Just like Pixar storyboards out on paper every movie before it's created. Paper and physical things in our classroom still have a place. I want to expose students to all of it. Going one-to-one shouldn't limit the ways of creation in our classroom. They should enhance it. They should give students more options, not fewer ones that are only digital. If a student wants to take notes on paper, they should have that option. If they want to take notes on a computer, they should have that option. What I want to make sure we do is expose students to all the ways you can take notes so they know how to choose the right tool for them for the right moment. In the same way, I want to expose students to the different ways of writing today. You can write on paper, you can write on your computer, or you can talk to your computer and it will write for you. Each one of these ways of writing has its advantages and disadvantages, and that should be what our classrooms are about. Exposing students to all these different tools, different ways to write, to read, to learn. I want students to be exposed to all of it so they can choose for themselves as they move through school when is it best to use paper and when is it best to use a computer. You can be a paperless classroom or a blended learning classroom, but you can't be both. What are your thoughts on a paperless classroom versus a blended learning classroom? Leave your thoughts over on our Flipgrid at sospodcast.org by clicking on Flipgrid at the top or by downloading the Flipgrid app to your phone and entering the code SOS Podcast. Each time you leave your comment, you are entered to win a Flipgrid pop-up tent for your classroom or school. Until next time, we'll see you on the network.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Shifting Our Schools with your host, Jeff Udick. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit sospodcast.org, facebook.com/Jeff Udick, and on Twitter @JUdick. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Shifting Our Schools.